All right, today we're going to be talking about the Orthodox Study Bible and why the Orthodox Study Bible is actually Protestant and not Orthodox. So let's go back to the beginning of study Bibles, and that would be the Geneva Bible of 1560. This was put together by English refugees who made their way to Geneva. You can see that this Bible has lots of study notes. It's got lots of helps and apparatuses in there. There's lots of wood carvings and drawings to help the reader understand the text. There you go. Lots of study notes. This is the world's first study Bible. And it's very important because the principle of the Reformation was sola scriptura. You have to read the Bible. The Bible is the source of our authority for all things dealing with the faith. It is where we get our knowledge of God from. It is the principium cognoscendi. It's the supreme way we know about God. End of story. So, now we go to 1672, and that is the year of the Synod of Jerusalem, which convened to refute Protestant errors. And one of the errors is, of course, sola scriptura. But not just sola scriptura, the laity actually reading the scriptures. And so we get question 1. Ought the divine scriptures to be read in the vulgar tongue by all Christians? And the answer is an unequivocal no. For that all scripture is divinely inspired and profitable, we know, and is of such necessity that without the same it is impossible to be orthodox at all. Nevertheless, they should not be read by all, but only by those who with fitting research have inquired into the deep things of the Spirit, and who know in what manner the divine scriptures ought to be searched and taught, and in fine read. But to such as are not so exercised, or who cannot distinguish or who understand only literally or in any other way contrary to orthodoxy what is contained in the Scriptures, the Catholic Church, as knowing by experience the mischief arising therefrom, forbiddeth the reading of the same, so that it is permitted to every Orthodox to hear indeed the Scriptures, that he may believe with the heart unto righteousness and confess with the mouth unto salvation. But to read some parts of the Scriptures, and especially of the Old Testament, is forbidden, for the aforesaid reasons and others of a like sort. For it is the same thing, thus, to prohibit persons not exercised thereto, reading all the sacred scriptures, as to require infants to abstain from strong meats. So if you are Orthodox, this council, the Council of Jerusalem of 1672, forbids the laity from reading the scriptures, because only those who with fitting research have inquired into the deep things of the Spirit, and who know what manner the divine scriptures ought to be searched and taught in fine read, can read the scriptures. And who is that? That's obviously the clergy. Now, this is from Josiah Trinham's book, Rock and Sand, which is a rebuttal of the Reformers and their teachings, it says. And, of course, one of the heresies laid out in here is sola scriptura. Now, here's Josiah's comments on this synod. The confession in chapter 2 affirms the authority of Holy Scripture, but requires that it be interpreted as the Church has always interpreted and believed it, noting that every foul heresy receives the Holy Scripture but interprets it perversely. The authority of the Church is not inferior to the Scriptures. Like the Scriptures, the Church is infallible and has perpetual authority, and it is one and the same thing to be taught by the Scriptures and to be taught by the Church. Let's say that again. It is one and the same thing to be taught by the Scriptures and to be taught by the Church. You don't need the Scriptures. All you need is to hear the Church, your priest, your deacon, your bishop, exposit the Scriptures, and that's good enough. You laity, you are forbidden. You are absolutely forbidden from reading the Scriptures. Ought the divine Scriptures to be read in the vulgar tongue by all Christians? The answer is no, no, no. Now, this confession is still in play today, as we see. This is a book, Rock and Sand, which was published in 2015. Josiah Trinham has it in here with very little commentary on it. He doesn't say that that prohibition has been lifted, because it hasn't been lifted. It's still in place. So let's go take a look at Timothy Ware's The Orthodox Church. And on page 197 of this particular edition, we have the following are the chief Orthodox doctrinal statements since 787. And over here we have number 9, the Confession of the Scythius, ratified by the Council of Jerusalem. Now, he says over here, let's see, that in the case of the 17th century councils, for example, their statements of faith have in part been received by the whole Orthodox Church, but in part set aside or corrected. Now, he doesn't indicate what parts of the Scythiat has been set aside or corrected, but just 100 years, not even 100 years later, in 1723, there was Orthodox Exposition of the Faith written, and it was translated in 1865. And what do we have? You find it right here on Google. You have this: ought the Holy Scriptures to be read generally and by all Christians? Answer: no. And it's the same answer as given in the Confession of the Scythians, because it is the same as the Confession of the Scythians. And this is an English translation of this in 1865. So in 1865, the Orthodox Church was still teaching the laity are not to read the Scriptures. Now, let's take a look at how this plays out in real life, in the life of the Orthodox. Now, this is from Father Seraphim Rose's biography. This is a very thick book. It is worth your time to read if you want to know about Father Seraphim Rose and his work. Now, let's go to page, we're going to go to page 277, Theological Training. Now, you have to understand, Father Seraphim Rose grew up as a Methodist. Then he rejected his Methodism and became sort of a Zen Buddhist. And then he became Orthodox. So, here he is attending Orthodox catechism classes, and here's what he says. Eugene, that's Father Seraphim Rose's birth name, Eugene attended the courses for 3 years. One thing that struck him early on was the other students' lack of knowledge of the Bible. The Russians asked such obvious questions, he told Gleb. That's his friend and his partner, who he formed the missionary with, the mission, St. Herman's Monastery with. The Russians asked such obvious questions, he told Gleb, as if they never read the Scriptures. They don't, Gleb responded. It's not a habit for them. They follow the traditional forms of worship, which no one can deny is a good thing, but they neglect the Scriptures. This discovery strengthened Eugene's conviction about the need for Orthodox missionary work for the sake of those in the church as well as those outside of it. Just imagine that. Those who are born Orthodox, grow up in the Orthodox Church, the ethnic Greeks, Russians, the Eastern Europeans, for all intents and purposes, who grow up in the Orthodox Church, need to have missionary work done for them because they don't understand the Scriptures. All they do is what Gleb says. They neglect the Scriptures and they follow the traditional forms of worship, which is the prostrating yourself before icons, kissing the hand of the priest, receiving the body and blood, doing confession, doing all that stuff that the Orthodox do, but not reading the Scriptures. Because what did Father Josiah Trenham say? To listen to the church is the same as reading the Scriptures. To hear the church is the same as to hear the Scriptures. You don't need the Scriptures. And we see that the Orthodox confession, the Confession of the Scythians, confirmed that the Synod of Jerusalem in 1672 says, ought the Holy Scriptures to be read generally by all Christians? No. So Father Seraphim Rose is really the beginning. He is a Protestant convert from Methodism to Buddhism to Zen to Orthodoxy. And he realizes, he was a Bible reader. He knows these things because as a Methodist, he read the Bible, because that's what Protestants of all types do. They read the Bible. And he said they all ask such obvious questions. And then this is what emboldened him to begin his ministry with the Orthodox Word, his little magazine. And so 20 years after this comes a man named Peter Gilchrist, who converted to the Orthodox Church. And what did he bring along with him? He brought along with him his Protestantism. And this is where we get the Orthodox Study Bible from. It's from Peter Gilchrist. It was his project to begin with. It started out as just the New Testament and the Psalms. And you can see his name in here. The New Testament general editor is Peter Gilchrist, but this all really sprang from his brain. This is not an official sanctioned Bible by the Orthodox Church. Like, it wasn't affirmed at any council or anything like that. It's just a bunch of Orthodox men getting together at the behest of Peter Gilchrist, who thought this project up, and they are compiled this, translated the Septuagint version and compiled the notes. More than that, the English translation of the New Testament here is the King James, which is a thoroughly Protestant translation owned by Thomas Nelson, and lo and behold, this book is published by Thomas Nelson. It's not even published by an Orthodox publisher. It's published by a Protestant house. It's got a Protestant English translation in here. It's got a Protestant background. Protestant DNA is all throughout this Bible, and it all comes from the Geneva Bible. This is where study Bible started. Geneva, and you make your way to the Orthodox Study Bible. But as we have seen, the Orthodox are not allowed to read the Bible. The Confession of the Scythians, which is still dogmatically binding on all Orthodox today, every single one of these people ignore. They ignore their own tradition, and they let you, the laity, read this Bible. They encourage you to read it, knowing full well that you shouldn't be, because the Confession of the Scythians forbids you from doing it. Now let's take a look at this guy over here, and I'll show my claims even further. This is a guy on Reddit. Let's get that out of here. Who's showing off his Orthodox Study Bible. He's put tabs on it. You can see the tabs. He's put icons in there that aren't icons. He's got notes. He's fixed it up a little bit with pages that fell out, printed them out and glued them back in. Now, who is this guy? Who is this guy? If you search his profile, you'll come to this little gem, My History with Orthodoxy. And what do you know? Lo and behold, he started out as a Lutheran. Then he became a Presbyterian and Reformed. And then, just before he became Orthodox, he said that he was going to he went to a Reformed college to study ministry leadership and Bible theology. He went to a Reformed college to study ministry leadership and Bible and theology. So what do the Reformed do? They read the Bible. If you're going to a Reformed Christian college to study theology, you're going to be reading the Bible. You're not going to be listening to the church. Now, this is interesting here. I don't resent Protestantism nor hate it, because Protestantism is what nourished my Christian faith. How did it nourish his Christian faith? By reading the Bible. And he's brought this Bible reading habit over into his orthodoxy, but he is, as Orthodox, he is forbidden. As all Orthodox are forbidden from reading the Scripture. I'll say it again. Ought the Holy Scriptures to be read generally and by all Christians? The answer is no. No, 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 no. And the reason we have this Orthodox Study Bible is because of Protestant converts to Orthodoxy who bring their Protestant notions over into Orthodoxy. Like, Christians ought to read the Bible, like the Bereans did. Yeah, Christians ought to read the Bible. Like Chrysostom said. Chrysostom berated his audience for not reading the Bible, not knowing the Bible. And that's how we get this. And yet, official Orthodox teaching says, ought the Holy Scriptures to be read generally by all Christians? No. So, if you are Orthodox, and you have an Orthodox Study Bible, you should give it away to your Protestant friends. Give it away to your Protestant friends, because it doesn't belong to you. You're not allowed to read it. The DNA of this book is all Protestant. The English translation is Protestant. The publisher is Protestant. Everything about this book is Protestant. There is nothing Orthodox about this book. Nothing. There's nothing Orthodox about this book, because the Orthodox are forbidden from reading the Bible. So, like I said, if you got a Bible that's an Orthodox Study Bible, give it away to your friends, because ought the Holy Scripture to be read generally and by all Christians? No, no, no.